So I'm just continuing the discussion around the quantum self, the possible selves, the future selves or future self, and what are some of the theories that have come into my life around how to work with that. So this is the third video, just spontaneous video around some of the ideas that have informed my viewpoint behind how I work with this idea of a future self. So I think I'm going to talk about the idea of our brain and our mind being a window and a window of perception. And then I think I'm also going to talk about the morphogenetic field and how that works. I also do run family constellations, and constellations taps a lot into this idea of this morphic field, morphic resonance, which is Rupert Sheldrake's theory. And we'll see if I can tie in some of those two together into helping around this theory of the quantum self, and how to work with this idea of a future self that we can become, or we can step into, possible future self or selves. So the first thing is, and I'm just building on things that I've already mentioned, but we have this neural net in our brain that we have created through all our beliefs and experiences in our life. And this neural net creates almost like a window through which we look. And that window is full of perceptions. And it's almost like if you've seen the sun shining through a stained glass window in a church or a temple, you'd see the sun streaming through a particular image that has been created. And then on the floor, there's the reflection of that image. That is a lot like us. So we come into, say, a therapy situation, or into a workshop or a retreat, or to a master teacher, or to someone to help us wake up, because we are unsure of how to change the reflection of our life. And one of the first things that needs to happen is we need to be shown where that reflection is coming from. So we have to get pointed back inside of ourselves and be shown the mechanisms of reality that we are actually controlling. And one of the ways that we are doing it, according to the theory that I've been taught at the Ramtha School, is thought. My thoughts are setting up the window through which I am looking. And over time, those thoughts become beliefs, and those beliefs inform my actions, and those actions reinforce my reality, and they give me an experience. And so I'm continually looking through this window, stained glass window in my own brain of my own personality, and the reflection is my life. And if I don't like the reflection of my life, then I have to look back at the window through which I am looking in order to create changes to the reflection. So this is the process of awakening, you could say, self-awareness, self-mastery, self-introspection. So to understand that we are able to change ourselves, that we are not a fixed self, that we are merely a conglomeration of thoughts and beliefs. And if we can go about dismantling those and rebuilding new ones, then we are on our way to having a new reflection. So basically, we have to get used to looking through a different window, a different stained glass window in our brain that has different thoughts, different beliefs, that will give a different reflection. And as we look through this new reflection of who we are, who we've chosen ourselves to be, who we would like to experience ourselves to be, our reality, our quantum field collapses itself in a different way, because we are now observing a different reality, different thoughts, different beliefs. And that will give us a new self. So when you look at all these different stained glass windows in a church, you could see that as the possible selves, as all the different possible viewpoints that we could have. And we can design the outcome that we would like to experience. So say, for example, if we are an addict and we're struggling in rehab, and we want to come clean, then we have to imagine living clean. We have to see ourselves in a recovered lifestyle. We have to see ourselves as having already done that journey. And as we begin to imagine ourselves in that future self or potential self or possible self, that information becomes available to us. That reflection becomes, that information starts to get downloaded into our experience, and it starts to become our reflection. So we have to learn how to stay in this new thought, new belief. So part of it is in training ourselves to see ourselves differently. We have to practice change. We have to practice being a different person. We have to practice hardwiring new thoughts. And this takes time. This can take years and years, just becoming somebody else. And it is a bit like becoming an actor on a stage. You have to think of the character that you want to be, and what would this character say, and what would his or her words be, what would his or her thoughts be, how would he or she think about herself, what would she be doing. And as you begin to occupy that space, so other bits of information come. So you can actually access that stream of consciousness by starting to shift yourself out of your old window of perception. And I'm talking about a neurological window in your brain, into a new neurological window, which is created through wiring and firing new thoughts. And this was first taught to me also at the Ramsar School, and you can later hear Joe Dispenza, who taught at the school for a long time, talking about this as well in some of his books. So how does that relate to family constellations and the morphogenetic field? I'm just going to touch on that for the moment, because I just want to leave the idea of the window through which you're looking at your life and the perceptions through which you are believing your reality, and how that is having a huge outcome in your life. So with family constellations, we understand that we are also tapping into this morphogenetic field of consciousness. So in other words, we see that there's this sea of information and energy around us, this quantum field of infinite information, and it's not at a distance. It's available to us instantly as we learn to focus our attention or our observer onto it. So you can see the research of this in remote viewing, for example, where people can put their mind on a target that is at a distance, or they don't even know where the target is, like a missing child. They put their mind there and they just start to receive information. It's like advanced psychic research, for example. So we are all capable of doing this. This is an innate ability, that where we place our focus and where we concentrate, so information will become available for us. So part of the task of moving somebody from one self into another self is to build that window in which they can move, build the belief system into which they can transition. And they have to stop believing the one reality and give more emphasis to the other. And that is where some of the therapy lies. That is where people need a little bit of help with letting go of the old perceptions and the old windows and coming into new thoughts and ideas. So a lot of NLP, affirmations into action, helping people to really hardwire the beliefs that they want to be having. And one of the ways that I used the future mask was to make a mask, so to solidify this character that somebody would like to move into. Create the mask of their future self, cut out the eyes, look into the mirror, and see themselves as this character, and allow the brain to reprogram as they're looking at themselves, and to send themselves new impressions, and to create this morphogenic field, fingerprint in their brain of this new possible self that they would start to engage, and all the information would start to become available to them as they're seeing themselves as that potential. So that's one of the ways that I use the future mask. And then because I'm a drama therapist, you would also allow the person to really embody this character, also to start to have the download into the new self, the new I, of this new window, this new neurological window of self that you want to be occupying. So those are some little thoughts to add to this conversation as we go along.